Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We are up for our Millennial series. So, as you know, we are putting together a book called The Millennial Study. And today, joining us is my friend and someone I completely admire. Jessica is CEO of Disruptive Marketing, which is a big, big deal. So we want to hear all about how you came up with this, but to give you kind of a idea of how impressive she is, Jess was born in 1987. Her parents made her work for everything that she has today. So they didn't give her a free ride, even though she's beautiful and wonderful and all things great. So Jess, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came to start Disruptive Marketing 4.5 years ago.
Well, thank you, Winnie, for that incredible introduction, and I really appreciate that. So it's been a bit of a journey starting Disruptive Marketing, right? So it kind of started in my childhood a bit. I started, getting involved in entrepreneurial life at a very young age. When I was in first grade, I started my own business, painting my friends' nails. And I always, ever since I was young, had visions of creating businesses. But at the time, I didn't know what it really was because I didn't have any people around me that were entrepreneurs. So throughout my schooling, I was always attracted to business-oriented classes. I got involved in marketing. When I was 15 years old, I started taking all marketing classes, electives, joining marketing and business competitions. And then I remember my dad took me to his company when I was 15. And it was in that moment that I decided that I wanted to start a marketing agency. I had interned with the marketing program there, and I had a vision of what I wanted to create in the future. So I started on that path around when I was 15, and I went to school and I studied international business and communications. And under the umbrella of communications, I studied journalism, advertising, and marketing. And when I graduated college, I started working for a digital marketing agency. And I got my executive master's in digital marketing. And so I achieved 80%.
Just let me ask you. So I know that you are, like right now you're in San Diego. And so at such a young age, at what age did you start working at this digital agency or marketing agency?
Yeah, I started working at this digital agency when I was, 23 years
so you're
old.
So because I know you graduated or you went to University of San Diego here locally. So while you're in school, then you started working at this digital agency.
No, actually, it was right when I graduated college. I started working for this digital agency, and I remember I had this moment where I broke this industry record. And what had happened was when I was in school, I remember studying rhetorical theory and this very traditional based communications class and thinking, when am I ever going to need this? And then I was learning about the principles of digital marketing, and I had like a light bulb that went off, and a formula came to mind, and I tried it on paid advertising for this company called Mogul, and I achieved 80% conversion rates for paid advertising. So 80% of everyone who was seeing the paid ads on Facebook were clicking those ads, going to their website and putting in their credit card information. So that's what really gave me the confidence to go off on my own and to start my own business.
Yeah, that's amazing. A lot of times these businesses start from a need. I remember I started my first company while still when I was going to school at UCLA. And it was all of a sudden you just realize, wow, I can do things just a little bit differently and a little bit better, and I can actually get paid for this. So I love this. Yeah. So you were working there, you did something, you had an 80% conversion rate, and you're still quite young, very young. And now 4.5 years later, you're still in San Diego, and you're now helping companies get more business.
Yes.
So let's talk about that now. What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, I wear many different hats on a day-to-day basis. So I like to be involved in a lot of the different processes of my business. I'm really excited because I just hired on a VP of operations to really run the business so I could focus more on business development and strategy. But our business does everything from website development to paid advertising to strategy to social media. Really, we work through the digital mediums to really grow people's presence online. And I personally love strategy. I love taking in all different aspects of information and really connecting the dots and coming up with these creative campaigns that are really outside of the box and achieve companies' business objectives so they can have impact in the world.
Well, that's wonderful. I know you are definitely someone who wants to combine your passions of nature and being good and charity. And then people don't even know, but you are a champion hula hooper. So I feel like you have great life balance. So how do you manage running? And let's talk about that. How big is your company right now? How many people do you have on your team? To
Yeah,
perspective.
so right now it's more of a boutique company. So it's about 7 people, and we have a strategic collective of companies. So people who specialize in video production, people who specialize in web development. So when we get larger projects, we work with our strategic collective, which is aligned agencies to tackle those projects. But our vision is to grow to 500 employees over the next few years.
Well, you can certainly do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we need to share at some point some of your video of your hula. I mean, you are one powerful woman.
Thank you. Yeah, so you asked an interesting question. How do I combine my lifestyle with the business? So I don't actually see a distinction between the two. And so Disruptive Marketing is really a lifestyle-based company. And what that means is we are kind of a conduit for people, not only ourselves, our clients, but everyone that we interact with,
Right?
to awaken their dreams, to live their greatest life possible. Because I don't believe in the traditional view of business. I believe that when people are in a state of childlike wonder and curiosity and play, it leads to our greatest innovation. And that innovation is going to be what makes our tomorrow a better place. So, for example, if someone's an avid surfer, on their lunch breaks, they go and they surf. You know, if they want to go hike during the day, we want people to be operating in a place of passion and happiness, because that's going to translate, and they're going to put a piece of their, their soul and their spirit and their passion into the work, and it's going to lead to ultimately better results and productivity within the agency.
Well, this is so wonderful that you're talking about that, because in our study, the millennial study, we found that to be the case. Millennials are brilliant, but you need to see that brilliance. And I think what they're doing, especially in my space, the financial industry, is my industry is probably the biggest dinosaur on the table, meaning that everything is done a certain way at a certain time, and nobody wants to make any change. But the beautiful thing about you and other millennials is you're teaching us and forcing us for life balance. And I welcome that new era, because like you said, if I was out, like right now, if I were home with my kids, or I was taking them to the park or something else, I would be so happy. And I think when you're happy, you become so much more valuable to your clients, because because you just see things a different way, and you're at a good spot to give them their best advice. So what you've shared is what millennials tell us each and every day, that's the exciting part. So just tell me, on your staff, so you said you blend both balance of life and work. So what does your office space look like?
Yeah, so actually we're moving into a new location in Encinitas, California in the next month, and I'm really excited about it because the new office space is completely solar powered, and it has
Very cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like an eco retreat, and it has a saltwater pool and a little cabana, but it's very open and white and expansive. And what I'm doing is I'm creating something called the Dream Lab, and that's going to be the office space. And what the Dream Lab is, it's really a space so people are freed up to create dreams, right? So it means taking care of all their personal errands and their dry cleaning and everything like that, having their meals prepared for them, but also having trampolines, and like something we want to implement is sumo wrestler suits. So when people get tension
awesome.
the day, or they have a battle, like, or not a battle, but there's like tension amongst employees, we don't believe in gossiping. It's like, work it out. And so kind of like working it out in a fun way where they put on the sumo wrestler suits, and have all sorts of like games and high tech gadgets around that really foster innovation.
Yeah, that's so true. One of our clients, we've worked with employees at DreamWorks Animation for a really long time, and you described exactly what I think they foster. Why I call it like Shrek Village. It's like the most beautiful place. There's green and there's lakes, and it's just. And then you go, and then if you need time to decompress, you can go to the 24-hour kitchen, and you can go and play video games in the video room, and you can play ping pong, and it's almost like it's. In many ways, like what they did at Facebook, it's like that's your community, right? So
yes,
I'm excited to hear, because right now you have 7 employees. You want to go to 500, but even at a smaller scale, you can do that, right? I'm interested to see how big these sumo wrestler suits are. They got to be kind of big.
Yeah, they are really big. It's, if you just Google sumo wrestler suits, they're the ones that you see at fairs where you zip them up. Yeah, I just have some crazy ideas. It's like, and I sent you an email about it. It's like Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory meets Walt Disney meets like an eco retreat, Necker Island, and sort of feel a really expansive place that breeds that childlike wonder and innovation.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So like I can see millennials want, I know, when I was on CNBC or Fox Business, I think it was Fox Business, they were talking about how millennials these days don't want to own homes, right? And they don't feel like they need material goods. But what you've described is creating an environment that's actually going to require some decent square footage.
Yes.
To be able to bring all this like really unique experience in-house. I went to visit the Zappos campus, and they had this whole area that looked like a jungle. So I love this concept of the dream space. This is really cool. I kind of wish we were neighbors now.
I know. Well, something that we're going to be doing a lot of community-based events. So we're going to be bringing in speakers in sustainability and innovation and opening it up to the community so that we can kind of also have impact in our local community, but we also want to have impact in our global community. So we will have a couple rooms in the house where we can create a live work space, right? So the goal is to bring the greatest minds of our time together. And I want my team to stay inspired and innovative. So when we can't travel, bringing the amazing entrepreneurs around the world to us. So really having this space be a magnet for those incredible entrepreneurs of our time to come and to stay, and members of our community to be involved. So we want this to be very connected to our community.
So Jess, you're still going to be based in the San Diego area?
Yeah, so we're going to have one location in Encinitas, and then the goal after that is to open up various locations throughout the world to have that global footprint and that global perspective.
Yeah. So right now, are most of your clients in the San Diego area, or do you have clients all over?
Yeah, so it varies. I have a big client in LA right now, Yamaha Corporation, and then I have a client in Scotland. But a lot of them are in San Diego area right now, LA, and then one in Scotland.
So that's really interesting. So like, for example, what I think is attractive to you is these companies want to probably reach more millennials like yourself.
Yes.
Is that what you hear more often than not?
Lately, I've been hearing that a lot. We do work with all ages. It's not limited to millennials, but one of our bigger clients came to us and said, how can we reach more millennials? They're kind of perplexed at how they go about it, because they're finding it's not traditional marketing at all. It's very much storytelling, leveraging user-generated content, and actually having the millennials take part of the brands. Like Vans did this recently, where they created a campaign where millennials could come up with designs for the shoes, having them be a part of the brand. Also moving more towards more social-based campaigns, campaigns that actually have an impact in the world and make our tomorrow a better place.
Yeah, that seems to be a very common thing among millennials. We found that in our study too, that millennials definitely want their money to matter. So that's why they love brands like Tom's shoes, because there's a social impact whenever they purchase that product. So that's one of the really wonderful and beautiful things about the millennial industry. I mean, Chef Michael said he really liked that comment as well. But absolutely, I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about how millennials are a certain way. We hear people talk about them like they're aliens, but they really aren't. And if you just sit back and think about it for a moment, although they might not work in a traditional fashion, but if we spend some time and learn, we can be better.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited because I feel like millennials will make my children's life better, who are now Generation Z. Thank goodness for millennials, because do I want my kids to work the crazy hours that I do? Probably not. I want them to have more life balance and to give back more to the world too.
Yeah, and there's a few things that I want to touch upon there, but what's interesting is like ever since I stopped making the distinction between work and play and made work play, I don't mind working all the time. I actually end up working more, but I enjoy it more. But there's some things that definitely are affecting millennials that are leading to this shift. You know, there's the boom of the internet. They grew up with the internet and this technological shift, which is allowing us to work remotely. The internet and things like, you know, Slack and Google Drive, where you can co-edit documents live in the air, and things like, you know, the gender gap. They're trying to close the gender gap and lead to equality. And what's really interesting, I think, that's affecting millennials is as we do with the boom of the internet, it's led to a very global world. So we're getting more and more information all the time from different perspectives around the world. So it's creating this really interesting fusion of who we are as people.
See, I love that. And let's talk about that. I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business as well as I do. And you've talked about all these different types of technology. What I love is that now we as business owners can engage employees and talent from all across the globe. They don't have to sit across the table from us. We can now find the absolutely best. And so, like you said, you had a client in Scotland who works with you. I think that's amazing. So maybe you could talk about maybe you could share with us your ideal client and what makes you feel just amazing. What gets you up in the morning every morning?
Yeah. So my ideal client is someone who puts their best foot forward every day in the world, who's living out their passion and is really committed to making a bigger impact in the world outside of themselves. So that comes in the form of social businesses, to organic food companies, to wellness companies who just want to make people feel good, to lifestyle and entertainment companies, musicians who just want to inspire people with their music. That's really my ideal client, someone who's passionate and wants to make the world a better place. And really yes?
And is it profitable?
Is it profitable?
Is it profitable to be that way, to be so idealistic?
Yes. What's interesting is,
I think so too.
Yeah, it's actually more profitable than traditional ways, I found.
Yeah, that's interesting because in the millennial population, being the largest population, is going to be determining how money is spent. They are going to determine what consumption means for the future, right?
Yes.
So, there's no surprise that Apple has done so well in the past because they understood what millennials wanted earlier than the rest of us. Right?
Yeah, and millennials are going to surpass baby boomers by 2017 in buying power. And these are the people who care about social causes and making a world a better place. You know, they're deeply affected by global warming, and that's going to affect their future and their child's life. So they're actively supporting companies who minimize their footprint in the world. And so in turn, the dollars are going to more social causes.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, if you think about it, now Elon wants us to be completely wire-free or off the grid, if you will. I think it's amazing. How great would that be where we are self-sustainable? I mean, and all of that came from a different way of life. But the millennials will really continue to lead us forward so that we can be more self-sufficient and I love that, being more creative and just living life and maybe spending more time having better balance.
Yeah.
I think um, the Gen X generation was by far the hardest working generation, maybe. I mean, baby boomers would argue probably they were even more hardworking, but harder working doesn't really mean better. It just means harder working.
Right. Yeah, it's all about working smart. And what's interesting with millennials, they were deeply affected. They were a byproduct of the divorce generation, when divorce started to really increase. And what I found in my research, what led to that is really, in the 80s when women started getting jobs, they said traditionally women in the past would marry for men. They had their role. It was in the kitchen. It was taking care of the kids. And they typically would try to marry a man of certain stature, right, to take care of them out of survival. And when they started getting jobs, the women started saying, hey, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I want to have things a certain way. And there was kind of like the battle between the men and the women, and it led to this divorce. And kids were a part of this divorce generation. They're a part of global warming. So what they're doing is they're questioning things. They're saying, okay, working so much led to unhappiness. Inequality leads to unhappiness. Global warming leads to unhappiness. So they're trying to come up with solutions that lead to happiness and having a positive impact in the world.
Right. They're trying to kind of keep from having that unhappiness go to the next generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's very well said. And Chef Michael said diverse and self-sustainable. Completely agree. Yeah, it's so true, because I think when I became a parent, I remember, I mean, I liked having a nice garden, but I didn't put that much emphasis on it. Then I had children, right? And I started making my own baby food and realizing how important it was of knowing what went into that food. So then it was always about making your own baby food, but it went even to the point where I needed to grow that vegetable that went into the baby food so I knew where it came from. But I think that is something that my parents and previous generations really didn't think about. But now with millennials, they want to know where everything came from and can we do it better, which is so exciting, right? So imagine our world 10, 20 years from now. Incredible. We will now be, in many ways, so much even more educated than we are today, which is a little frightening too.
Yeah, it is scary because we don't know what that's going to look like. There's infinite possibilities with the amount of information that's getting thrown at us. Someone that I've recently discovered is this architect out of France called Vincent Caillebotte. He's essentially the Elon Musk of France, and he's creating these beautiful, beautiful pieces of architecture that end global warming. So creating these like jellyfish buildings that actually are in the water, using 3D printing. And what he does is he's 3D printing recycled waste.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you check out some of his designs online, they're so beautiful and so futuristic. And he's going to China, he's going to Paris, and he's going to all the major cities and turning them into smart cities to end global warming.
Wow, that is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just got my husband and I just got smart homed up in our own house, and I thought it was pretty trippy at first. I mean, you're walking through and all of a sudden the light turns on, but then when you walk out, the light turns off, and it's weird. But you can see in the future how everything is going to be smart and everything is going to be efficient, and we won't be so wasteful with a lot of the things that we're blessed with today, all the utilities and whatnot. We won't need people to tell us to stop using as much. It'll just be calculated and formulated for us.
So do you have an analytics system in your house at all, or?
I think so. We have a very interesting system. I mean, luckily, one of my friends owns smarthomes.us. I guess we're plugging them now, Smart Homes US. And they've done some pretty cool things with their house. So at first I was like, I don't know if I want this. I mean, my kids should be able to turn on their lights themselves. I feel like it was kind of a waste, but now I can see we're actually going to be using less electricity by getting us less involved.
Yeah. But I do think I would agree with you. There is a certain level of fear that comes with the expansion of technology, especially artificial intelligence and what that may
Right.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be a whole new chapter.
Yeah.
So Jess, what are you doing for your company to stay relevant? I mean, you are still a millennial, but you are always we talked about the last time we met, you want to always look forward. So what does forward look like for you and your company?
Yeah, so one of the ways in which we're expanding, we're shifting to become more of a true digital agency. And what that means is we're incorporating virtual reality and hologram experiences into our campaign. So for one of our clients, we're going to be creating a virtual reality e-commerce experience for them and some creative virtual reality experiences for their musical instruments. So actually creating a concert, if you will, using the virtual reality technology and hologram technology.
Well, that's so smart. So like, for example, if I wanted to try out playing the saxophone, I could do so via virtual reality, right?
Exactly. You can actually have a no pressure sales environment in the comfort of your own home and really experience the information or the instrument and see if you want to purchase it. And if you are experiencing that instrument online and no one else is providing that experience for you, you're most likely going to go to the company that's adapting that technology early on.
You know what I would love that technology for is furniture. So you could figure out before lugging that like 100-pound sofa into your house, how it would fit and how it would look in your house. That's what someone should do, virtual reality interior design.
Oh, that is coming. It's definitely coming.
I'm sure you're bringing it to us.
I'm working on it.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I met with a company recently, Exito. They're doing some pretty cool stuff. Like they are a suit and a formal wear company, and they're working on a technology where you'll be able to try on your suit and get measured at home in the comfort of your home, which seems so realistic, especially for women and parents. Like my son changes sizes every 6 months. It'd be great to know things are going to fit and then save that shipping costs and everything else. Very cool.
And the time and the energy, and also the time and the energy it takes to go out, but also like minimizing the global footprint. We don't need as many brick and mortar buildings, right? If we can shop via technology.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Well, I mean, completely agree. Actually, I was having this funny conversation with my 6-year-old yesterday, and we were talking about, he's like, what do you do? I came home yesterday. I was like just totally pooped. And he's like, why are you so tired? I said, because I had a really busy day at work. He's like, what did you do at work? And I said, well, I had to write, because he does this thing called a weekend news report every Sunday. He said, I had to do like a weekend news report, but longer. And he's like, oh, so you wrote a whole bunch of stuff on paper? I was like, no, it was never on paper. I typed it out on the computer. He's like, whoa. He's like, I want to do my weekend news report on paper. And then it just dawned on me. It was so awesome because I'm like, it's so true, because before we would write everything. Now I need no paper at all, right? And think about how that's complete changes culture-wise. We could spend a whole day doing so much work and never printing one piece of paper.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, we can now make purchases and never walk through a brick and mortar store.
Yeah. And what's interesting about what you say in changing cultures, the use of technology is actually changing communication for the millennial generation. What's really interesting is the use of emojicons and how they actually mean something and they communicate messages. It's almost like we're going to the I've been talking about holograms, so I forget the word. You know the one I'm talking about? The traditional pictures that they used to draw in caves? Holographic, yes.
Yeah, those things, yeah.
Yeah.
Holographic.
Hieroglyphs. Yeah, it's like a modern day hieroglyph. The emoji.
Yeah. Emily's like, pictograph? I think Emily, that's a modern thing.
I had hologram on the brain, so that kept wanting to come out.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I love what you're talking about. Everything is changing. Okay, so we're gonna have a little fun today because I have some questions for you, which I actually wrote them down on paper. So we're
Yeah.
gonna ask you a couple would you rather questions.
Okay.
Okay. So would you rather spend time with Richard Branson or Ryan Gosling?
Richard Branson.
And why?
Because he's an incredible human being. I just love his mentality. I love how he's impacted the world. He's a very inspirational entrepreneur. He defied the norms. He dropped out of school when he was younger, and he showed people, hey, I can still have a positive impact in the world and make things happen, but I have a different way I'm going to go about it.
Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of meeting him, and he said he was at an airport and his plane was delayed or non-existent. And he says, I need to build a better airline because this is not acceptable. And people don't actually know this about him, but Richard Branson's actually normally a very shy person. He's a quiet guy, and he's a thinker, and he just wanted things to be better. So I guess in some ways he was the modern millennial back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, next question. Would you rather, this is because we just had an interview with Thomas from Chef's Roll. Would you rather eat a prime rib or oysters?
Prime rib. My body loves red meat. I was a vegetarian for 13 years. I don't know how I did it. My body loves red meat.
Chef's probably happy about that.
Yeah.
That would be my choice too. All right, so let me ask you this. Would you rather visit India or would you rather visit France?
Oh, that is so I've been to both places, and that's really tough. I would have to say France because I have a lot of family there, and so family is everything. So of course France.
All right, good. And Chef, you're probably happy about that too, right? Okay, great. So here's one that we thought would be kind of fun. Would you rather gain, this is, okay, now those of you who are watching understand that Jess is a champion hula hooper. Champion, okay? Would you rather gain 20 pounds or lose 3 inches off your height?
Probably 3 inches off my height. So I need to be more nimble for the hula hooping.
So you're a little tall for hula hooping. Is that what you're telling us?
I'm not tall for hula hooping, but like I think the extra weight might slow me down a bit.
But if you're hula hooping, can't you lose the weight in like a week?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
The things that make you go,
Yeah, this is one of those I'm stumped.
Okay, cool. Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather let all of us see your web surfing history or your credit history?
I am very proud of my credit history, so bring it on. I've been building credit since I was 18 and have near perfect credit, so I'm very excited about that.
My kind of girl. There we go. I love it. And Chef's giving you props on that too. I love it. Well, with that, guys, this is Jessica with Disruptive Marketing. So, Jess, how can people keep in touch with you and follow all your progress? Because I know I want to. I'm going to have you back on the show for sure because you're my girl. But tell how other people can keep in touch with you.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about my business, you can check out my website. It's disruptivedigitalmarketing.com. I should just send it right now in the text. And then if you want to learn more about me, connect with me on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's my first and last name, Jessica Tishue, or send me a personal email at jessica.tishue@gmail.com. I'd love to connect with you.